In this episode, we're going to talk about Gen Z and their car buying habits. This is the rising generation coming after millennials that is now in the oldest of which are in their early 20s. While they have not been buying cars for very long, in the next few years, they're going to become a sizable portion of your customer market. What are the Gen Z preferences when it comes to buying cars? Find out in this episode of Down Payment.
Welcome to Down Payment, the podcast for used car dealers. Prepare to learn something new about the industry that keeps us moving.
Check out all our podcast content on our social media channels. We are at Down Payment Podcast on YouTube, Down Payment Podcast on Instagram, and Down Payment Pod on X. Welcome back to this episode of Down Payment. And in this episode, we're talking about Gen Z. So Gen Z are the people that are born after 2000 up to about 2020. And depending on who you consult, the exact dates of Gen Z kind of vary, but it's roughly that 20-year cohort after the change of the millennium. And Gen Z, in a nutshell, they are even more technology driven than the millennial generation, if you can believe that. And they have some interesting quirks that are quickly emerging as far as their car buying preferences and habits. And understanding and being able to embrace these and connect to these is absolutely essential for your dealership to prosper with this Gen Z customer base in the future. So Gen Z is really interesting because they are rising in an era where the traditional dealership concept has not really ever been a thing for them. So millennials can think back to a time when car buying was mainly done traditionally by visiting a variety of dealerships and settling on one car after visiting 4 or 5 dealerships. And while they ultimately have rejected that strategy and move into a much more online tech-driven sales or buying strategy from their perspective, Gen Z has never had the experience of going from dealership to dealership to dealership shopping for a car in a traditional manner. And you see it in their car buying habits. Gen Z is interesting because they want a very online or hybrid buying experience. They are more likely than older or prior generations to delay or cancel a vehicle purchase until they find something that is fitting their needs, suitable for what their wants are. They're more willing to delay or defer that car buying experience. They browse extensively online, and they are much more likely to use AI than prior generations to give them advice and research on their car buying experience. So they rely on AI to suggest vehicles, financing options, and even to do stuff like arrange maintenance appointments. AI is serving kind of as a co-pilot role in their car buying experience. It's a very AI dominant sales experience for them. So they're using stuff like ChatGPT to help them research cars, compare dealerships, and even negotiate. They are using AI agents when available for scheduling maintenance, getting financing advice, and vehicle recommendations. Their preference for online purchases is very high. A large number of them are willing to buy in an entirely 100% online sales experience. Now, there are still a good number of Gen Z that prefer to go through a dealership and have a hybrid sales experience where they start online, do much of the process online, and then close at a dealership. And I think that dealerships need to make a big case for this sales experience because it does provide a lot more security and protection for the consumer as opposed to especially an interstate entirely online sales channel. But we have to be able to be nimble and deliver a customizable hybrid sales experience, part of it online, part of it in person, And that flexibility is something that a lot of independent dealers really struggle with. It's something that we need to evolve in order to keep up with changing generational consumer preferences. And then you also want to have a strong social strategy. TikTok is really big with this generation. You need to have a strong social media marketing campaign that includes TikTok in the mix. You want to have good social proof and customization. So car buying relates strongly to this generation's sense of identity and shareability. So they want to be able to personalize their vehicles and they want to be able to showcase them on social media. They want to feel good about their purchase after making a purchase and reflecting it in their social media. They want to show it off to their friends through social media. You, as the dealer, want to embrace that and offer good opportunities for them to show off the vehicle that they're buying at your dealership. Whether it's basically the car photo booth or a step and repeat where they could take pictures with their vehicle, you encourage it, you get pictures with the customer and their sales associate and their vehicle. You want to make sure that that's part of the experience. Embrace the social media aspect. So some dealership strategies. That AI-enhanced sales journey is absolutely key to embrace. Now, this is the Wild West. This is the frontier of automotive retail marketing, but the dealerships that are able to incorporate and offer AI tools and agents to assist Gen Z in comparing inventory, prices, and help with the finance experience are going to do best with Gen Z. You want to provide a hybrid sales experience where they can have part of the sales experience in store, start in store, conduct online, move back to the store to close. It needs to be customizable and flexible. The dealers that can do that best are the ones that are going to thrive. Now, here's a real key part of it. For negotiations, try to make the negotiations mediated by technology. Instead of that traditionally adversarial negotiation experience, one-on-one in person, this is very unpopular. You want to instead have any sort of negotiation mediated by technology. Let the computer deliver the bad news. If bad news has to be delivered, make sure that it's the computer delivering that bad news, not one of your employees delivering it in person. And then social first branding is so key. Encourage your buyers to share their new car moment from the very get-go before they leave the lot. Use branded hashtags. A Snapchat filter is a great thing to have for your business. And then finally, really important, that value-based sales experience is so valuable, if you will, to delivering a good customer experience to both millennials and Gen Z. Your old school sales techniques are falling out of favor. Your objection handling and overcoming objections and stuff that we trained for years has become very deeply unpopular, especially with your younger generations. It's time to move to a more modern sales technique, and that is value-based sales. We'll talk about that more in upcoming episodes. But if you embrace these technology-driven changes, you're going to do really well with Gen Z. You'll also do well with your other generations. And with that, go sell some more cars. It's been another episode of Down Payment. Check out our podcast on all our social media channels. We are at Down Payment Podcast on YouTube, Down Payment Podcast on Instagram, and Down Payment Pod on X.
Thank you for listening. Down Payment, the podcast for used car dealers, is a production of Meta Financial Services Incorporated.